keys to having exceptional customer service are very simple. First, create an environment that people feel comfortable in. This requires a clean venue, neat workspace, soft music, and most importantly, friendly and enthusiastic faces. Second, strong and efficient communication skills. This entails listening to a customer's needs very thoroughly and then repeating those needs back to them to confirm you understood everything. It also involves being prompt in answering the phone and emails, and lastly, making very thorough notes in all the correct places. Third, know your assets so that you can be creative with solutions. For example, the microphone isn't working properly in the main hall during a presentation. Know that you have another microphone in the conference room that can be easily synced to the main hall router as well. Fourth, be understanding. Try to always put yourself in your customer's shoes. If we have a policy that someone isn't fond of, try to understand their point of view. Then explain thoroughly why we have such a policy in a way that relates to their concerns directly. You will find at NOAA's that many of our policies are to protect the best interest of our clients, not just us. For example, if a client feels we shouldn't require 2 security officers for their event because they know their guests and they are just not people to make trouble, and the customer would prefer to save the cost. Here's an example of what you could say. I agree that you know your guests and friends on a personal level that we do not, and we respect that you feel they simply will not get out of hand. However, I'd like to take the opportunity to explain further what security offers, because people tend to assume it's only to prevent fights or drastic things from happening, but they will also walk the parking lot to ensure people are not smoking in areas like the landscaping. Security ensures that drinking stays in the building versus the parking lot. You do want your guests with you at the party versus having their own in the parking lot. They also make sure guests are not leaving intoxicated, which protects you from liability. Security is useful for the little and common things that people do not tend to think of. I completely understand that it is yet another expense and it just feels like things are piling up, but this is not one you want to worry about. I would be happy to go through some of your other wedding plans with you to see if we can find this money somewhere else in your budget. People's first instinct when a customer wants to discuss something is to be defensive and say, well, you signed a contract and this is what it is. This is not the appropriate first response. I am sure you have signed something not completely realizing every tiny detail, or you forgot about it over time, or you secretly thought that they may do it differently for you. You should always take the time to understand and explain the why. At the end of the day, they did sign a contract, but it's way better to win them over than fall back on the contract. Fifth, be flexible. One thing you will quickly learn about the event industry is there are a lot of gray areas. We couldn't possibly teach you about every scenario that is going to happen during your workday and during an event. So here are some basic questions to ask yourself when a customer has a unique request. First, are you going to lose out on significant profit? Second, does their request impede on any other events? Third, does the request create an unsafe environment? And fourth, will their request cause potential damage to the venue? If the answer to all these questions is no, then the answer to their request should be yes. We want to say yes to any request that meets these criteria. An example of this would be if a customer was given a gift card from our staff for a mishap that happened during their event. And then when the customer comes back to use the gift card, our prices have gone up by $50. Would you charge the customer the extra $50? The answer is no. Lastly, and most importantly, under-promise and over-deliver. This is one we will discuss in detail on the How to Run an Event Successfully video. It requires all of the previous items, communicating extremely well what our policies are so the customer knows what to expect the day of. Stick to these policies pretty closely until the day of the event, then we surprise them with our over-the-top efforts. As things come up on the event day, have creative solutions ready to implement. Be understanding if they are disorganized or remembering something wrong, and help them through it versus pointing fingers. Be flexible in what you are willing to do for them, such as setting a candy station that is completely not our responsibility, but you observed it needed to be done. This philosophy can be used in every aspect before their event as well. For example, we make it clear that we are not involved in running their rehearsal, but the night of their rehearsal, you see they are completely lost and you jump in to get it going. Remember, those qualifying questions rely on the experience and knowledge of your corporate director. Be understanding, which translates to being helpful, and you will have reached NOAA's standard of customer service.